Hi, my name is Jeff Pagano, and welcome to Harping on Rugby. This is part of our weekly feature called the 80 Plus column. This video, it's all about a segment we call the Front Five, which is a selection of five eye-catching, egg-chasing quotes and links from around the rugby media landscape. As you can see, I've got five headings lined up here, so let's crack on with this week's articles. Starting with this one from rugbypass.com. The headline reads, Adam McG hat-trick helps Ireland rewrite past against Italy. This is, of course, about the women's Six Nations. And after a disappointing start against France, though it wasn't a bad performance, it just they were just kind of outscored in kicks. They were 3 tries all against France, but the French pulled away with more kind of place kicks towards the end. But they really turned that around in Parma on Sunday. They put the Italians away big time. 8 tries to 2 it was this time, which is they scored by more than England had beaten Italy the week before, which is all the benchmark you need, really. This article focuses on Anna McG, the winger, who scored a hat-trick for Ireland in the game. But the quote from her, she's being perfectly humble. She says, to be fair, I only dotted down the ball. Now, that's, of course, that's not true. Wingers score tries. That's their job. They have to be in the position to score, and they still do have to finish them. But her broader point does make sense. If you watch the 80 minutes, which I did, it was a team performance. That was the key, the way the team played together, the cohesion. I spoke last week on this about the stars in the team like Aoife Wafer and Aaron King, but I think after watching this display, I think the point needs to be more about how they're now playing together as a team. And the fact that they got 8 tries, she got her hat trick, but there are 5 other try scorers. Dan O'Brien was kicking conversions, but the overall play around the pitch was just amazing to watch. If you get a chance to watch it, I think you'll get it on Virgin Media Player. Go back and watch the 80 minutes. It was an amazing display, and this is World Cup year. If they're playing like that now, they can bring that form to the World Cup. The sky is the limit, really, for this team. We hear talk about the women's game and the support they're getting from the IRFU, and it is true. When you go down maybe to club level, there's probably more that can be done to support the clubs. They need volunteers, they need funding, they need all this kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, of course, if the senior team isn't producing on the pitch, the inspiration to join those clubs won't be there. So it's about finding a balance, really. And at the moment, at the top level, they are producing on the pitch. So hopefully they can use that exposure and that success to organize the game properly all the way down to club level. We can only hope so. Just a word on the title I've chosen for this. I do little, as you can see there, I do little sort of puns and stuff for little headings for these different articles. And the one I've gone for here is Italian job. This is a personal thing for me. I usually say it's very, very lazy to use that headline for an article. Whenever an Irish team plays an Italian team, the headline is always Italian job. And I hate that. I once got given out to by the IRFU because I did a tweet saying I hate that, and I didn't realize that they had just used it. So the official Irish rugby account came back and ironically apologized. Well, I want to make it clear, I still feel like that about it. I know I've used it now, but I want to make it clear I'm using it ironically just to make this point about it. Okay, so that's my thoughts on Italian job, and you probably won't see me ever use it again. Okay, one more thing about the women's Six Nations. I've just touched on it here for this segment on my Front Five, but if you want full discussion of the match, I've spoken before about the Mother Rucker podcast, the Irish Women's Rugby podcast. Ailva and Kino, brilliant pods. They've done 2 already. The third one's already dropped with their own pun title called Instant Parma. Brilliant. It's all about the win over Italy. Check it out in all the usual pod places. Okay, moving on. Article number 2. This comes from Jared Wright in Planet Rugby. The headline reads, Leinster dealt hammer blow in pursuit of Springbok star to replace Jordie Barrett. Of course, Jordie Barrett is now with Leinster. I absolutely hate transfer talk in the middle of the season. I hate them. I wish we could only talk about it when the season's over. But unfortunately, with 2 hemispheres and different seasons and calendars, different sides of the world, we have to talk about it while we have to talk about players' future while they're still involved in the team, and it is annoying. But the reality is, Jordie Barrett was only here for a 6-month stay. He got a special thing written into his contract to take 6 months away from New Zealand. He's going to go back to the All Blacks at the end of the season. That's fine. Everyone knows where they're going. But the fact of the matter is, Leinster are allowed 3 NIQs. We've recently re-signed Slimani for another season. We've recently re-signed Arhe Snyman for a second season, which is brilliant. But we can't have Jordie Barrett, but that makes there's a slot open. Now, there's been speculation. This has been going back a long way over Damian W from the Stormers coming to Leinster. The reason is he's sponsored, personally sponsored by the Ardagh Group. The Stormers, they've also bought a piece of the Stormers. Paul Coulson is a big Leinster rugby fan. Obviously, Johnny Sexton has gone to the Ardagh Group. All those business connections there. It all points to he'll be the next guy to come to Leinster, and he would definitely be welcome, and he'd be a perfect fit, I think, for Leinster next season. What this article does is kind of pours a bit of cold water on it. What they're saying is he would need to be granted, he's under contract with the Stormers, he would need to be granted a sabbatical, which South African sides also often do. But the thing is, they're not crazy about giving too many of them to especially fellow URC teams, which is understandable. I mean, why would you give one of your players to a team that's going to be playing you? I mean, why would you do that? Unless, maybe they put in a stipulation that he can't play against the Stormers. I don't know. Be like a loan situation. I don't know. But the fact is, it looks like they're already going to let Manny Libak go to Japan. So all these rumors have been kind of bubbling under the surface. I get emails and people with special, I know Damian Willison's coming and all this stuff. I get that all the time. But this seems to suggest that maybe it's not going to happen. So we'll have to see it. This is in Planet Rugby, but it's quoting a source from the South African publication Rapport, which says the Stormers are not willing to let the double Rugby World Cup winner leave Cape Town. So we'll have to see, but it's interesting to get that input on the status where the Stormers are coming from and other players that deals they might have with other players. So that's the latest on that. We'll obviously keep tabs on that as we go along. Okay, article number 3. It's from the 42.ie. Gavin Casey is the author. The headline reads, Prendergast parks disappointment over Munster top job and looks forward to Raj reunion. Last week, I spoke to you about how Munster put forward to the press conference, they put forward their skills coach because nobody wanted to talk about the Jack Crowley situation, and it's still ongoing. Now, we've seen articles, there's still rumors going around that he's going to stay now. The weight of the rumor seems to be towards that he's going to stay, but there's been no official announcement. They haven't put pen to paper, so there's probably still shenanigans with his agent, all this kind of stuff, and I'm not giving out about that. It's all part of the negotiation process. I'm not crazy when it's done through the media, but some different agents have their different methods of getting the deal over the line. So I mean, I would be over 90% sure he's going to stay with Munster in Ireland at this stage, but it's yet to be confirmed. So anyway, the press conference for this week's Munster match, obviously it's a little more serious. It's the Champions Cup, and not only that, they're playing Ronan O'Gara's La Rochelle. That's a big, massive Champions Cup last 16 tie this coming weekend, and loads of old friendships and rivalries to go in. There's plenty to sell that particular fixture. But of course, there's a side plot as well. There's the race for the Munster head coach job, which was vacated, of course, when Roundtree left earlier in the season. It was left open for a long time. And of course, Mike Prendergast in particular, assistant coach at Munster, was asked if he wanted it. And he said fair play to him. He said, yeah, he did. But when it went so much longer without an announcement, and then finally they announced it Clayton McMillan, well then, the inevitable, when Prendergast goes in front of the microphones, they're going to ask him, and that's what happened here. And he just said in his quote, I think in this game, you don't have much time to feel sorry for yourself. You just have to move on. And brilliant response, brilliant media attitude. Listen, We're here to talk about the game this weekend. I want to talk about that. Can we forget the head coach stuff and move on? And I say fair play to him for that. And I hope he does get some kind of a promotion in the future, because I think, I think he's done reasonably well with all his appointments, moving up. He's been at he was at Young Munster, he was at Grenoble, he's been in a lot of places. Now he's at Munster, and I think the head coach job, there should be one out there for him eventually. And of course, we'll see what happens also in the Crowley story. Maybe by this time next week, we'll have definitive news on that. Okay. Right. Article number 4 comes from Talking Rugby Union. And the headline reads, Louis Bier-Barry named Six Nations Player of the Year. This comes as no surprise to anybody. The Irish, we call him Billy Barry, which is fair enough, which is a real Irish thing to do, to give him that kind of name. And I think that's what we should always call him. But I don't think anyone can have any dispute over his winning this award. He was a star. I think he's only 21. He scored 8 tries, the most ever recorded by a player in a single Six Nations championship since the format began. And I spoke earlier about Anne McGann saying that all she had to do was dot them down. Now, Bier-Barry is a winger too, but you saw his tries. They weren't all just simple dot downs. He made a lot of them himself, including against Ireland. He was definitely worthy player of the tournament, and there's no arguments there. I think my main reason for including this article is more from an Irish point of view, because the Irish as a fan base, this Six Nation, we were super critical of the team. It was criticism, even from the first game. We had England up first. We got a bonus point win over England in our first game. Still, there was criticism. Oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. Oh, what about this try? What about that try? Defensive issues, this player, that player, all that stuff, all the way through the competition. And we do that all the time. And, we're harping on rugby. We talk about the Irish team every week. We'll be critical as well, but I'm talking about the overall weight of opinion. I just think sometimes it's two things. Number one, look at Ireland's record for the past 4 Six Nations. Has anyone ever checked that? 4 Six Nations, 2022, 23, 24, 25. Played 20, won 17, lost just 3. 2 to France and 1 to England, and that 1 to England was by 1 point. That's over 4 Six Nations, one of the most attritional rugby competitions in the world, right? Where there's 6 even teams, they're apart from arguably Italy and opposed recently Wales, but still the games are never easy, whoever you're playing. 17 out of 20 over 4 seasons, with an average score of around 30-16 in Ireland's favor. I mean, that's not nothing. That's an amazing achievement. And when you step back and look at it, you just think all this criticism. We only lost once in this Six Nations. We're still criticizing the Triple Crown. I'm not crazy about a Triple Crown myself, but we still won it, right? It's an achievement in itself to get 17 wins out of 20 in this competition. And I think the team overall deserves a measure of credit for that. That's one point. My second point is, you know what? In sport, sometimes the other team is better on the day. They just are, or they're better at a certain time. They just, if you put all your preparation in, you do all your analysis, you have all your squad ready for the day in the game, and just some days the other team is better. And this year, the French were better. They just were, and that's the reality. And there was plenty of mitigation on the Irish side if you really wanted to find it. I'm just saying, I'm not saying we can't be critical. I'm not saying we must accept everything the Irish team does, but I think the bit of balance needs to go back the other way, a bit of pushback on all the negativity over the Irish team this year. And I think this award, Bier-Barry deserved it. The French deserved the title. There was no Grand Slam this year. We still got 4 wins, and there's plenty to build on for next season. So I just hopefully, maybe after a couple of weeks when the tournament dust is settled and all that kind of stuff, we start to see things that way. Okay, that's article number 4. 5. I'm recording this on April the 2nd, which means it's the day after April the 1st. So I suppose I should include an article which was all part of this April 1st malarkey. They are annoying, these articles on April Fool's Day. Everyone tries to do one. I considered doing one about Archie Snyman getting a central contract for Ireland and Leinster making it look real. And I was thinking about it, but I remember that the articles do annoy me. And if they annoy me, why should I contribute one myself? So I kept up. I've never done one like that over the years, on April 1st. And so that you probably won't ever see one from me. But this is one from the South Africa Rugby Mag. Of course, they did one. They did one which basically saying cheetahs to make shock URC return. They're basically saying that the article said that at the end of the season, it's quite simple. At the end of the season, the bottom South African team is going to drop out and cheetahs are going to come in. And which is, it's sort of, haha, obviously everyone knows the date. They quote in the quote at the very end of the article, it says, Ellis Park does hold 60,000 fans, and the few that do pitch up for URC games don't need to be subjected to fake news, even if it is April Fool's Day. That's them telling you it's just a laugh, which is fine. It's a little bit cruel, because I do believe genuinely that the cheetahs should be allowed into the URC. I think they were kind of shafted in that they had those years in the Pro 14, and there was them and the Southern Kings. Southern Kings didn't amount to much, but the cheetahs definitely did. They're an entity with their own support, the fan base, Free State fan base. They go well in the Currie Cup. They frequently get to finals and win championships there. I think they deserve a crack at the URC. It's just simple mathematics. That means they don't get in. A 17th team would create bye weeks and complicated fixture calendars and all sorts of problems. But I particularly think those problems are worth overcoming, but that's just my opinion. Anyway, this is our final article. I suppose it doubles as our clickbait of the week, but of course that's what these articles are meant to do. They're meant to get you to click and believe them for a second. So sorry if anyone fell for them, especially Cheetahs fans, because they might get a little bit excited because they'd love to see them in the URC. But anyway, that's that for this week. Listen, that completes this week's Front Five. Remember, we do a lot of other regular features on our full 80 plus column. You'll get the actual links we've just gone over, of course. Plus, we've got an injury update, a Troll Patrol feature. We've got a one-stop shop of updates on all the other rugby tournaments like the AAL, Top 14, Premiership, all that. You can get it all by heading over to our website at harpinonrugby.blog. Next up here at Harpin Manor, we'll have our usual preview and wrap pod for Leinster v Harlequins at Croke Park at the weekend. So please be sure to subscribe to our channel as well as our other social media platforms. You can find those at linktree/harpinonrugby. Until next time, stay safe, everyone. Slán.